Joining me again in the studio is Hervé Prettre from Credit Suisse to discuss the European debt crisis in more detail. Hervé, thank you again for joining me.
Thank you.
Now, let's move on to Spain. Now, we've already had the new fiscal treaty under new rules, implementations of fines if countries break particular rules. Now, Spain, the treaty is still in its early stages and already they've had to reduce their deficit targets for this year after the other ones were deemed unachievable. It's so early on. If cracks are already appearing in this new fiscal treaty, who's to say that the strength of the alliance is actually that strong between the 25 countries that signed the treaty in the beginning?
Well, I would say Spain, I would just see Spain as a precedent. It was a one-off from new Prime Minister Rajoy before really taking the charge of the budget. So we still see risk as limited for Southern European countries to do n'importe quoi, whatever, as we say in French. The point we discussed last time about Germany putting a cap to the rescue mechanism is precisely to avoid those kind of shortcomings of budget targets. Plus, what was decided about Greece to send a team of European experts to have a view on the budget, which is somehow, some people might see it as a breach of sovereign independence, but there you go. Are somehow the Damocles sword above countries from doing this kind of game another time or several times. So we don't see it as a material risk for the rescue package to peter off in the coming year.
Now, in terms of contagion spreading to even larger Eurozone countries, for example, Spain, Italy, we'll also put Portugal in this bracket too. Who's looking like the next most likely candidate to follow suit?
Well, Portugal is already there. Look at their 10-year bonds, still at 13%. And when you look at Portuguese fundamentals, at Credit Suisse we developed a very, we tend to look at a very interesting statistics ratio actually. The ratio of total government net worth divided by total debt. For a very simple reason, if you and me have the same level of debt, but we have a different net worth, of course the situation is different. In terms of countries, that's quite interesting. Take, for instance, France, total government holdings in Air France, in Telecom, the Élysée Palace, and so on. If it's worth, all of this is worth 100, total debt of France is worth 80. Total debt of Italy is worth 60. Total debt of Spain, Portugal, sorry, is worth 100. Meaning that if they sold everything, the president's, prime minister palace, blah, 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 they would have just enough money to repay all debt.
Yeah.
For the fun of it, Greece, the ratio was 160, meaning that if they sold everything, we still need to pay, they would still not sell out their debt. Exactly. So Portugal is definitely the next country at risk. Measures have been not taken, have not been strong enough, such as in Ireland or what Mario Monti is implementing in Italy. Portugal seems to be the other country really at risk in Europe for us.
Now, you mentioned elections there. We'll move on to speaking about the French elections that are upcoming just over a month away. Now, as we can see, we've got Nicolas Sarkozy, which is running for a second term as president, but also some tough competition from Francois Hollande. What's your opinion in regards to the polls? Where do you see this going and what way? Actually,
our bank has no view about who's going to win, so those are more my political analysis. Something is clear, Holland has a very anti-market policies with a special 15% tax on banks from retail banks and maybe perhaps prevent French banks from having some branches in what he calls fiscal paradise. Does it include Switzerland? We don't know.
Yeah.
Plus all those special taxes on the wealthy, plus those special taxes on corporations, he is not the friend of markets. And as you probably realize, since he started this campaign, the CAC 40 significantly underperformed the Euro stocks. Now, what is likely to happen? I think there will be some alert on the French bonds, as you see opinion surveys still give him by far the winner of the May the 6th presidential election. And actually, now I speak in my name, not in Credit Suisse name, I think that chances are high that Hollande is going to be elected, as Sarkozy is unpopular. And I don't see the French people voting for Hollande, but they're going to vote against Sarkozy.
Which obviously will work in his favour.
Exactly, because chances are very high that those two will be the two contenders for the second turnout on May the 6th. So I would see, unfortunately, since I belong to the UMP, that chances are limited for Sarkozy to be able to make it on the presidential election.
Hervé, thank you very much for coming into the studio again. Now there we have it, part 2 of an interesting discussion about the European debt crisis in more detail. Now for more exclusive interviews just like this one, stay tuned to DukascopyTV, but for now, goodbye.